Okay, final match of the day in a brand new starting fresh league here. It's absolutely a keep. It's actually a pretty nice hand. Not insane, but certainly fine. Certainly fine. Yeah, I mean, a couple removal spells, the Sky Spawner, even Foundry of the Consoles is actually a pretty nice land to have in the opener as well. Okay, possibly the Abzan aggro deck. Ideally not, but we shall see. If it is the Abzan aggro deck, at the very least, it's nice that we've got the Roast in hand so we can deal with the Anafenza. Ooh, we're not. We're not. Looks like Roast is going to go here. Yeah, all right. Oh, Wild Slash. Did not expect that. That was a great draw. Probably the best draw we could have asked for. Probably the best draw we could have had there. Definitely. I can't. A better draw does not immediately come to mind. So what is it? Abzan aggro. If it was Abzan aggro, once again, I have to reiterate how strange it is that my opponent took the Wild Slash instead of the Roast, since Wild Slash deals with like 2 cards in the deck, whereas Roast deals with like everything but Wingmate Rock. I'm trying to think what other decks. Another like, not Jund, just Mardu? Mardu, and I guess we played Mardu aggro round 1 of this video series, so maybe it's just another Mardu aggro deck. I do feel like our Mardu aggro deck we have a better match against Mardu aggro. We're just going to play Pia and Kieran Nalaar this turn, so let's just swing first, I guess. Opponent might have Crackling Doom or something, and we're going to be okay with that. Especially if they wait on the Crackling Doom. See, the thing is, we get to choose, but I want my opponent to think I have a more powerful follow-up play that they want a Crackling Doom away. So it actually makes more sense to wait on the Pia and Kieran Nalaar. If I just play Pia and Kieran Nalaar, it's obvious that my opponent wants to play the Crackling Doom. Now my opponent's probably thinking, do I want to cast Crackling Doom? Also fine with this. Much rather my opponent Fiery Impulse a Sky Spawner than a Pia and Kieran Nalaar, so that's acceptable. Next turn we get to go to town with that Ghostfire Blade, as well as use Pia and Kieran Nalaar if we have to, so that's kind of nice. So I guess if it's a dragon, we can't, it's like a Thunderbreak Regent or something. It just seems like it's probably similar to that round 1 deck we played. I'm guessing. Yeah, it's good value. I keep forgetting how good Kolaghan's Command potentially is against us, huh? We're still fine, by the way, but could be better. We still have the Foundry of the Consoles, though, which is nice. And we can pretty easily race a Shambling Vent if he wants to use all his mana for that. And having the Foundry of the Consoles here is actually quite nice. Okay. So almost identical to the first deck we played. Almost identical. Whirler Rogue's a good draw, actually. So we've got 6 mana. So I guess we play Whirler Rogue and roast the... Let's just roast. think we actually just play Whirler Rogue and then make our Thopter unblockable. And I'm going to swing with the Scion too, I don't mind. He's got Impulse mana up. But, yeah, it's a bummer, but whatever. It's still good value for us. I don't mind trading a Scion for a Thopter if he wants to do that. He's not even interested in it. Okay. So if we get a land, we can crack Foundry and still equip Ghostfire Blade. If we get a spell, we get to cast a spell, which is good. Okay. Shambling Vent. Oh, he was going to tap it. Never mind. Oh, he's activating. All right. I'm okay with this, too. We're not going to block. If he's got spot removal, it's too much value loss. I think we're more likely to be able to just raise here. Seeker the way, sure. Okay. So we've got... Did get the land, which means we can crack Foundry plus equip Ghostfire Blade, which is actually pretty good. So I guess we equip Thopter. One card left in my opponent's hand. This is getting very interesting. Very, very interesting. So might just want to swing with Thopters and then equip Scion for blocks, which might be better because I want to keep him off. Yeah, I think we're going to do that. So we can trade Thopters for Thopters here. I'm okay with this if he wants to trade. He's not interested in trading, which is pretty interesting. All right, now we pass. That's similarly interesting. Wild Slash, yeah. So, equip here. One card in my opponent's hand. Not sure what my opponent's debating on here. I mean, I can make the 3-power guy unblockable. I'm not entirely sure if I want to do that. Doesn't seem great. It lets us push a little damage through, but I'd rather just attack with all my Thopters. I have 4. He only has 2. I get to re-equip to Scion. I have Wild Slash. So I can even respond to Seeker getting pumped if he plays a spell here and just kill it, which I think I would do. Okay. He's got to be ready to block here. All right. So we re-equip here. and pass. One card left in our opponent's hand. Opponent's not quite dead if with the Wild Slash and the Thopters. Just not quite there yet. Although, no, I guess that's not true. We could technically, yeah, we could technically kill him with a Whirler Rogue plus a Thopter plus a Wild Slash. I mean, can't imagine his attacks being amazing here. Let's say he has like Crackling Doom or something. I think I still block this. I think it's just in my best interest to Wild Slash the Seeker in response to whatever he's doing here. Because I'm thinking it's Crackling Doom, probably. But then he doesn't gain life, so I'm not even sure that makes sense. Murderous Cut that. Alright, well. Kill this. Kills that. So he can activate a Shambling Vent, right? But he can't. He's got 2 black. He only has 5 mana, so he can only activate 1 Shambling Vent to block with, which is an important distinction there. Yeah, that, on the other hand, was just the draw we needed. No cards in our opponent's hand. That's going to be lethal. Play Ghost Fireblade, equip Ghost Fireblades to Thopter, make Whirler Rogue unblockable by tapping Ghost Fireblades. And yeah, opponent doesn't even want me to go through the motions. Got it. Okay. So roasts are out. Not good enough. Arc Lightning, Radiant Flames in. Should I assume my opponent's got Soulfire Grandmasters? I kind of want to say yes. Which means, besides the... I think at this... Maybe we'll just do the 4 negates this time. The problem with 4 negates... I actually still like 3 negates, 1 dispel. You do want to keep your curve kind of low, but I need to be able to counter Radiant Flames in a pinch. Probably. Is Dig Through Time good enough in this match? That's a good question. I'm not sure if I know the answer. I feel like it probably is. Ghost Fireblade was amazing there, but certainly gets worse against multiple Kolaghan's Command. I could cut a Dig and a Ghost Fireblade. I guess I'm not opposed to that. I actually want to cut a Dig, 2 Ghost Fireblades, and bring in another Impulse, I think. That way we have 5, 6, 7 removal spells. Main deck. Is Dig Through Time too slow? You know what? It could be. Very much could be. Have to assume our opponent brought in Radiant Flames. Let's try it like this. We also didn't see any Abbots from our opponent that game. But I'm not sure if my round 1 opponent sideboarded those in. That seems like an odd sideboard card. Soulfire Grandmaster kind of makes sense as a sideboard card. Against us especially, since you don't know how much spot removal our deck has. Even though Ghostfire Blade was really good there, I think because my opponent's got the Kolaghan's Command, it's a much bigger risk. My opponent can get pretty good value. Just having a couple seems fine. Okay, I guess we'll try it like this. I still like having the one dig. I feel like dig could come up big for us. Yeah, we're going to keep this. It's not actually an insane hand because it's susceptible to getting flooded, but it just, I don't think you can, in good conscience, mull hands like this just because it's a hand that stays busy early. That's interesting. How urgent is it that I play a Ghostfire Blade? It's not super urgent. I think we'll just play the Cliffs, especially since my opponent's running Kolaghan's Command, so he could technically kill Hangerback and kill Ghostfire Blade. Yeah, we're not in a rush to play Ghostfire Blade here. In fact, that's actually a good point. I should, in this match in particular, one where we're going up head-to-head against Kolaghan's Command, I should be much more willing to play Ghostfire Blade at opportune moments. Perhaps after my opponent's already played a Kolaghan's Command. I think there's a good chance Hangerback Walker's just going to get nuked as soon as we play it, but that just means it's doing its job. Okay, no turn 2 play from our opponent. Alright, another land, but that's okay. Still definitely rocking the Walker here. So, if my opponent taps out, I think we just want to use Walker. Even if it means taking a bit of damage, I think it's in our best interest to just go ahead and get a token on there. Alright, he is uninterested in dealing with Hangerback. Alright, I guess we'll play the Blade unless we get something else relevant. Oof. Alright, in a bit of trouble here now. Starting to get in Dutch. We are in desperate need of some action now. If we want to outvalue our opponent, which we do. Not afraid of my opponent shambling venting. I don't want my opponent to Kolaghan's Command here, but may have no luxuries. Alright, looks like opponent's gonna do it on my turn instead, which we'll accept. So probably just getting Kolaghan's commanded. Which would have made a negate or dispel draw there just sick. Would have been such a punishing draw. Not that it would have like been game breaking, but just like allowing us to keep our Ghostfire Blade would have been so good. Okay, the fact that my opponent's not doing anything, what does that tell me? Kind of tells me about my opponent's probably got a Radiant Flames. See, the problem here is my opponent also doesn't have double red, so my opponent could theoretically have it just seems so likely my opponent's got Radiant Flames. My opponent could also have Pia and Kiran Nalaar. If I play Sky Spawner, my opponent plays Radiant Flames. I follow up with Pia and Kiran Nalaar plus Equip. I think I'm just going to have to accept that. Obviously not super happy about it, but I just feel like only having a Thopter out is just not quite enough pressure. My opponent could still not have to play Radiant Flames and build a more sizable board, which I don't like. So I think that we are just going to, since I'm not doing anything with the land anyway, I'll just equip there. Doesn't really matter. I'm pretty sure my opponent's just going to slam a Radiant Flames here. Could be a Pia and Kieran Alar, though, too. I'd almost prefer to see Pia and Kieran Alar. Okay, was in fact the Radiant Flames, kind of as expected, which I'm not thrilled about, but at the same time, my opponent really wasn't highly incentivized to play Radiant Flames there if I didn't play the Eldrazi Skyspawner, if you know what I'm saying. So now I'm much more tempted to just play Vile Aggregate, which after the Pia and Kieran Alar play, I think is just, doesn't make the best use of mana, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and be just fine with that anyway. It doesn't die to a lot of things. It does die to Murderous Cut. I'm just going to hope my opponent doesn't have that. There's not a ton of incentive for my opponent to keep that in. Well, spoke too soon. Looks like that's exactly what my opponent's doing. I still don't understand why people leave the Murderous Cuts in against me. Like, someone have a good answer for me. Did my opponent see a Vile Aggregate game 1? If the answer is no, which I think it is, why would you even leave Murderous Cut in against a token deck? Does that make sense? Like, clearly it was good there, but if you didn't know your opponent had Vile Aggregate, why in God's name would you keep Murderous Cut in against a token deck? So that's confused me. We're in a really horrific spot now. Like, now we're in just horrible trouble. So that was probably one of the swingiest bad turns for us that possibly could have happened. I have to think about this. Oh, and my opponent's got the... Yeah, that's real bad. That's just real bad. So let's say my opponent activates Shambling Vant. I take 2, 4, 6, 8 damage, but then I can play Pia and Kieran Alar and kill his. The following turn. And if I don't do that, my opponent... I think I have to do that. I'm obviously... I'm very unhappy with just that exchange there because like I said, I don't actually think Murderous Cut is a good card against us for the most part. Obviously, it was good there, but name another card in my deck where Murderous Cut is good. Pia and Kieran Alar or Whirler Rogue? That's not a good answer. Like paying 5 mana or delving your graveyard away to deal with one part of a 3-part card in which your opponent's deck is running high synergy cards like Ghostfire Blade just doesn't make a ton of sense to me. If my opponent saw Vile Aggregate game 1, which I don't think that they did, then a Murderous Cut makes sense. But since my opponent didn't and left in the Murderous Cut, I'm surprised. Could be just my opponent does not have enough good cards out of sideboard where taking out the Murderous Cut makes sense. I'm also very unhappy my opponent's got 3 mana here. It's really bad for us. Really, really bad. Because I wanted to be able to just play Pia and Kieran Alar and not have him take ours out. Now we're just not going to get that. But that, on the other hand, was exactly the draw we needed. That's a game-changing draw there. So let's do this. We drew our one of. I think for the next league, I'm just getting another Radiant Flames straight up. I'm just going to straight up get another Radiant Flames. There's been too many matches now, I think, where it's been like, God, I wish I had Radiant Flames. So I imagine he's got to burn us, take us to 12, but we get to follow up with our own P and Kieran Alar, which is very good. We don't get to equip, but that's not a big problem. Our opponent is a land away from being able to activate 2 Shambling Vents, which could be a problem too, but that's okay. If his best play is activate 2 Shambling Vents attack, we're fine actually. We're definitely just taking this. Opponent can't even... Could have land another P in Kieran, but we're actually okay there too. Oh man, that's a heartbreaker right there. Heart is officially broken after that one. All right. Well, opponent broke our heart. Looked like we were in the clear too, so that's a rough one. Radiant Flames too. Oh boy. Negate, huh? Yeah. Negate. That's a good one. Negate's a good one. You'd have been good 2 turns ago, my friend. You're not so good when my opponent's already played the Kolaghan's command. I forgot to swap my Wild Slashes for Fiery Impulses, and I guess I wouldn't have had my Wild Slash turned on now anyway, so I guess it's not that big of a deal, but... Okay, that's a good draw. Puts us right back in it. Keeps us busy. Hoping my opponent does not have more than 2 Radiant Flames, but we'll see. So we're going to be blocking now. Totally want him to activate both. That would be the ideal. Looks like he's not willing to, though, so we're going to double block and counter Crackling Doom or Fiery Impulse or whatever he's going to cast here. Multiple Murderous Cuts, not just one. That's a rough one. Guess we swing with a Thopter. I could leave both back, but it doesn't... The only way it changes something is if my opponent has another... If my opponent draws Kolaghan's command, he gets rid of both of them anyway. I'm just going to attack with one Thopter. And be willing to trade a Wild Slash plus a Thopter for a Shambling Vent. Alright. No activations is interesting. We're gonna try and kill it. Yeah, that's a bummer. It's a big bummer. Is Utter End good against us, too? Alright, we definitely are going to lose now. Absolutely going to lose now. I guess it's not 100%, but it's pretty close. Keep the Thopter back to block the Monk. What did my opponent Utter End? A Thopter? Guess that's not the worst. So we're going to bring in all our spot removal, it turns out. He is running the Abbots. He's running Mentor. This is just such a strange match. All right, I guess we're going to bring in Dispels too. I got to figure this out. I guess I'm just taking out Ghostfire Blade. I think I'm bringing Dig Through Time back in though. I need a way to cast Dig. If I'm going to lower my curve this substantially, I think I've got to be able to cast Dig. And yeah, we're going to trade with the Monk, or try to. All right, need a big draw here. That's a good draw. It is a good... Oh, for the other end for the hanger back. Okay. Guess that makes sense. So now I'm like a Pia and Kieran Alar away from a pretty good thing. No cards in hand. So I could burn the Seeker now. I think I do. If my opponent draws away, we take too much damage otherwise. I think we just kill it while my opponent can't do anything about it. Like if I don't, my opponent draws like an instant or sorcery, I think we're actually in some trouble. Like we die to Crackling Doom. Alright, land is good for us. So, I mean, we have a lot of good top decks here. I imagine our opponent does too, but obviously cannot attack here. So, P and Kieran Alar is the Omega at the moment. Certainly don't want our opponent to draw Utter End. And I do have a better idea what I'm going to sideboard into now, if it has to go to game 3. It does kind of suck that Ghostfire Blade's not good in this match, since I kind of want it to be, but it's okay. We just got to play a slightly different strategy. I got to find a way to bring those digs back in, though, I think. I think that's important for us. If I'm not going to be getting the resilience of Ghostfire Blade, then I think I'm going to need some resilience from Dig Through Time. Foundry of the Consuls would have been a good draw. It's even though it's a land, something that keeps me busy. Crackling Doom's not even that bad against us. Another Utter End would be a problem. Painful Truths, that's also a problem. All right. Pia and Kieran are bust here. Oof. Oof, what a whiff. So I think our opponent likely kills us if they draw Crackling Doom now. Maybe they got rid of Crackling Doom, actually. That makes sense. We haven't seen one this whole game. Why would my opponent run Crackling Doom against a token deck? Okay, so probably sideboarded out of Crackling Doom. Have we seen Fiery Impulses? Yeah, we still kept in the Impulses, kept in Murderous Cut, Utter End. Yeah, that's a problem. Looks like we're dead unless we draw out right here. Ooh, there we go. That's what I'm talking about, baby. All right, well, let's go for it. Beauty is, even when he responds with P and Kieran Alar, we still get to... I should have attacked with Hangerback Walker first, actually. That was a mistake. That was a mistake. It's okay, but it certainly was a mistake. I should have attacked with Hangerback Walker. Because now I'm not going to get the chance to. He's going to get to respond to my P and Kieran Alar by using P and Kieran Alar, forcing me to use Hangerback Walker into P and Kieran Alar, which I can still use twice. So I can kill Soulfire Grandmaster and I can kill P and Kieran Alar, which is good news. Also means I'm going to get a boatload of tokens. Okay, so we're going to see if opponent's going to let those tokens come in. Opponent does. So we're going to attack with Hangerback here. I guess that means we get one less. Whatever. We're going to attack with Hangerback. Actually, if I attack with Hangerback, my opponent blocks with Doppler and throws it at Pia. I guess we activate Hangerback now that I think about it. I changed my mind. I guess he uses Doppler in response either way. Whatever. Let's just activate Hangerback. I think now he's going to use Pia and Kieran. So we'll kill his... Guess we just have to sack the Hangerback Walker. Not a big deal. Burning us, so burn the Soulfire Grandmaster. Alright. So we lose ours, we get a boatload of tokens. That dies, this dies. And we're done. Alright. We're at 4 life. Do have 8 tokens. This is only game 2, and our opponent has 3 minutes, which is also good for us. I'm going to block each of them with 4. Oh my god. The blocking bug. This is one of those times where... Can you imagine someone that's assigned like 30 blocks and then it does that glitch? How frustrated would you be? All right. I'd say we walked out of that one well. That's a good draw. I mean, we're certainly not out of this game, but I feel like there's no chance our opponent can win this match because this is only game 2, right? Yeah. All right. Well, ended up going 2-1 today. Beat a deck and then lost to the same deck. So just something I'm going to have to get more familiar with. I definitely feel like I prefer... Okay, here's the thing. So I prefer my matchup against this than I do to the Abzan aggro, but obviously this deck is still going to be a problem, so I'm going to have to fine-tune my sideboarding against this deck. I think I'm close. I think we're just going to completely ditch out on the Ghostfire Blade plan and just go all in on Dispels, Negates, and Dig Through Times are going to be kept in. Dig Through Times are just so... It would have been just insane here. So we want all of our spot removal, we want all of our counter spells, and we want our Dig Through Times. So that means we probably want to end up cutting... Besides the Ghostfire Blades, what else? Like a Sky Spawner? Is that what we want to cut? Maybe. I'll have to look at it again and figure that out. But yeah, certainly we totally top decked our way to victory here, and our opponent needed to really miss a couple turns as they did for us to even get to this point. Like, we drew P and K. If we didn't draw P and Kiranar right at that turn, we would have lost. On top of that, yeah, like straight up, we would have just lost. The fact that we beat P and Kiranar with P and Kiranar is just so good. And then on top of that, we drew into Vile Aggregate while our opponent basically blanked. So we had to draw, like, we once again, it's the resilience of this deck because we have such powerful top decks, which is just an aspect of this deck that I just love. Like, even Hangerback there was so essential, drawing it and keeping back his army while he built it up. That was insane. So, yeah, there are just some components to this deck that are extremely nice. Mostly that we have such powerful top decks in the mid to late game. I really think we're getting a lot of victories that way, which is something I'm not used to since I'm always playing the hyper aggro, or usually playing the hyper aggro in standard, which the top deck power of those decks is so abysmal that you end up just getting crushed in the mid to late game a lot. But look at what we're beating. I mean, we're beating decks with Monastery Mentor and Abbots and Kolaghan's commands, just value cards everywhere, Painful Truths, all these lands. It's infinitely more satisfying to beat expensive decks with budget decks. I can definitely tell you that, just because I think budget decks that are competitive are just so good for the entire player base. Like, what more does a person who wants to compete at tournament level but doesn't have a lot of money, like, what more do they want? Here's your option right here. If you have the $30 to enter the tournament, all you need is maybe another $30 to build this deck. So, yes, happy to go 2-1 today. Even the match we lost, we won 1. So this deck has just been incredibly good for us. I'm really happy and satisfied with how well it's been playing. Hope you guys have been enjoying it as well. We'll see you for the next one.